Welcome to the first ever show of Boost News, brought to you live from Griffith University, unless of course you're watching us via YouTube. I'm your host, Chris Burns, and today a wonderful team joins me. On my right we have Anjali and Leonie. How you going, girls?
Good, thanks, Chris.
How's your weekend?
Good, I watched the Rugby World Cup, which was pretty awesome. I must say I do like the Huckers.
Cool, yeah, who doesn't though? And on my left I have Dominique and Jess.
Hi Chris, thanks for having us here today.
You're welcome. How was your weekend?
Oh, fantastic. I spent the weekend on the Lullaby and relaxed on the beach, ate fish and chips, but I had to make sure I stayed out of the wind on Saturday.
Well, I could rave on about my weekend, but unfortunately we don't have time for that. We're going to get straight into some discussions in a moment. But first, let's have a look at the top 5 news stories of a week. Over to you, Angela.
Thanks, Chris. Gold Coast tennis player Sam Stosur has won her very first Grand Slam title with a stunning victory over Serena Williams. The 27-year-old has become the first Australian woman to win the US Open since Margaret Court in 1973. And back home, a Brisbane mum is believed to have killed her 14-year-old daughter on Wednesday before taking her own life. The body of the girl was found in the family house with multiple stab wounds. And US President Barack Obama said America has shown in the past 10 years that it does not give in to fear, while speaking today at the Kennedy Center in Washington. Today marks the 10-year anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. And to politics, the Gillard government has confirmed it will introduce its carbon tax bill into Parliament this week. The government has said they want the bill passed by Christmas. Meanwhile, Defence Minister Stephen Smith says the Labor Party has no interest in changing leaders, despite the government's recent poor standing in the opinion polls. Supporters for former Prime Minister Kevin Rudd have urged their colleagues to consider changing the leadership or risk defeat at the next federal election.
Thanks, Anjali. Now, I don't know if you've all noticed, but there seems to be an unusual amount of political news in the media lately, considering the federal election was only last year. The topics seem to focus on one thing, and that's how unpopular Julia Gillard's Labor seems to be. Recent polls show that at the moment, the Labor Party's primary vote is as low as 30%. So here's my question. Why does everybody hate Julia Gillard?
Well, Chris, I think hate is a pretty strong word, but I do think people really don't like the carbon tax. And whether or not they understand it is a whole nother question itself, but I think everyone knows what the word tax means, and it has very negative connotations. And because Julia Gillard is the head of the Labor Party at the moment, she is the one copying all the banter for it, and I think everyone is just looking for someone to blame for the proposed carbon tax.
That picture they showed of Julia was pretty scary. I'd be scared of her if I was in Parliament.
Strangely enough, they never seem to take good photos of her anyway. But what do you think, Dominic?
Well, I agree with what Anjali is saying, but I think we also need to remember, at the time when the tax was being discussed, Julia Gillard promised the Australian people that while she was in government, that the tax would not be coming into the Australian people. So it's a bit of a contradiction. Not only that, but I think that Australians may have lost a lot of confidence in Julia Gillard because, or some may see that she stabbed Kevin Rudd in the back to get her position as Prime Minister, and I'd say that probably a lot of Australians, just aren't really happy about that. We're a very comfortable country, and to do something like that, I don't know, it just ruffles a few feathers, I think.
I completely agree, and that's why in the opinion polls, they've been having a comparison between Kevin Rudd and Julia Gillard of who they would like to be leading our country. I don't think that the public have let go of the fact that the way in which Kevin Rudd was out.
But in saying that, Dominique, I don't think it would be a wise decision to yet again change our Prime Minister, because it would just be so confusing, and it could possibly put a damper on Australia, and we're in such a good position at the moment in the world.
I agree, and the peculiar thing is when it was coming into the attention of the media that, there are rumours that Julia Gillard is going to be replaced, these rumours were anonymous, so nobody's actually come forward to discuss, where are these rumours stemming from?
Then at the same time, it's Julia Gillard hasn't been giving $1,000 checks here, there, and everywhere. No. So that's why I would rather Kevin Rudd.
Oh, really? You didn't like that $1,000?
No, I enjoyed it very much. But of course, we could talk about politics forever. But let's cut to a quick break. You're watching Boost News. Welcome back. You're watching Boost News. Qantas appears to be in trouble again. The airline that considers itself the heart of Australia has been accused of racism after it hosted a competition over Twitter, where 2 tickets were promised to the Rugby Union Tri-Nations decider at Brisbane Suncorp Stadium. The winners promised to dress up as their favourite player, Radiki Samo, with painted black faces and afro wigs. Fellow tweeters considered it disgusting and they considered it appalling. So basically, was this racist or were the tweeters just sore losers?
Oh, Chris, I think that those guys were having fun and that was their only intention. I don't think that they had any racial vilification at all in their mind. I think that they were just out to have a good time and to support their player and to basically be good sports and get in the moment and enjoy the football.
Would you agree, Leonie?
Yeah, and Radiki loved it. He didn't have a problem with it, and it was all done in good fun. And they had a great time at the football with their free tickets. So good on them.
Yeah, good on them.
Well, I totally agree with Anjali and Leonie. I think they were just having a good time, and dressing up is fun. Everyone loves to do it, and you know, to do it for someone that you love, it's not done in a racist act. And possibly it may have seemed as a racist act only because Qantas is such a massive company and sponsored by Australia. They are Australia's image, and you know, they were the sponsors of these tickets. And it just, I suppose, in some people's eyes, came across the wrong way. But to me, it was just fun and all for football, and you know how Australians love their football.
Dominic, do you think that Qantas themselves were guilty of racism?
Absolutely not. I think there's nothing wrong with dressing up in the likeness of a player that you like. People go to sports all the time and they dress up in the colours of their team. So what is wrong to actually dress up in the likeness? And like Leonie was saying, Radiki Samo had absolutely no problem with the thing. He was, he took it all in good humour and was really flattered that they would do that.
It does seem a bit odd. The tweeters, as I was saying before, it was a competition on Twitter, and it was the tweeters who posted that it was racist and ridiculous. Is it possible that the tweeters were just sore losers and the media grabbed onto it and thought, hey, hold on, it is?
Well, what do you think that the public would say if somebody won a competition and they, say a Maori, and they painted themselves in white? Do you think that anyone would be having a problem with that? Would that be considered racist? We've got to look at it from all angles.
Probably not, but what do you think, Jess?
Well, honestly, what you said before about the tweets, I think it is a possibility that someone was just like, oh, that's not fair, I wanted to win those tickets, and, that was racist, and, it's just escalated and become an issue that really, it shouldn't even be an issue. It was done in good humour, it was fun, and honestly, that's that.
Yeah. Well, Anjali, what do you think? Were Qantas being racist in that regard?
Oh, not at all.
Not at all.
I don't even think we should be pinpointing Qantas. I think someone has blamed this on Qantas, but I don't know why. I don't think they really have any grounds to, because it's not like Qantas forced these people to dress in a certain way. They just said favourite player. So
similar things have happened in the past before, though. This seems to be a topic that comes up every few years. Like Saturday Night Live, when they rehosted, they started up again. There was the same issue there where people were dressed up in afros and black faces as well, and they were accused of racism.
Well, racism is a big issue, I suppose, but
it's all about the context in how you portray it. If you do it in the right way, then it's okay and it's humorous, it's funny. If you do it in the wrong way, then it's offensive.
And wasn't the competition dressed up in the likeness of your favourite character or be inspired? But wasn't that the competition?
Mm.
It was something like that, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, Radiki Samo was not offended by it. So now would be an excellent time to stop and have a break. We'll be back in a few minutes after the break. Thank you. Thanks for watching Boost News. Well, Julia Gillard and Qantas are not the only ones in the doghouse. Judge of Australia's Next Top Model, Alex Perry, publicly criticised one of the show's models, Alessandra Moon, of being too fat and described her body as overstuffed luggage. The problem is that the 18-year-old is 57 kilos and a size 8, or so she's claimed. I'm not really sure what this means, Dominic, since the men's system doesn't use numbers, but is size 8 big?
Well, the issue is not really is size 8 big. The issue is that Alex Perry's comments on that episode of Australia's Next Top Model have been completely taken out of context. There was basically a challenge, and the challenge was that the models were to be posing from within a coffin, and the comment that Alex Perry made on Alessandra's particular photo was that it looked like overstuffed baggage because she hadn't extended her limbs, so it was referring to her modelling technique, not referring to her size. The winner of that particular challenge was actually a size bigger than her. So by taking it out of context and making references about her weight and her size, it's completely uncalled for. And if you look at, we've got some audio from Alex Perry speaking to Carrie Ann on the Carrie Ann show about this, and it'll give you a little bit more perspective. Here it is now.
Reason, people have taken that totally out of context. It was not in any way, a jibe about her weight. It was about the way that she modelled in that confined space.
Well, I think he's defended himself quite well there in that instance. Leanne?
Oh, yeah, definitely. In this case, Alex Perry, it was okay, not okay, but he was talking about the way she was posing. So it makes sense because he was just describing her modelling technique. I think we definitely go into definitely different waters, dangerous waters, when we start talking about models and whether they're overweight or they're underweight, they're anorexic, then that's when everyone seems to get really upset.
I'm not sure about the qualifications you need as a model, aside from being good looking and probably tall, but I think moving gracefully would have to be one of them, and if she isn't able to do that on a contest.
Exactly, and also at the time of the shooting, this model, Alessandra Moore, was actually not able to fit into a standard size 10. So if you're after a size 10 in the modelling industry, you're considered a plus size model. Now, Alex Perry doesn't make the standards of what size models ought to be, but that is the reality. She wasn't able to fit into a size 10, standard size 10.
I don't think it's right to, put people into categories of plus size models, or, models to some extent are role models to teenagers in particular, and anorexia and all that sort of thing is a really big issue. But in saying that, models, their work is their body, and they need to fine-tune their body like anybody else in any other career needs to fine-tune their career. And, well, models need to be fit and healthy looking so that they can best represent a woman's body in clothing and sell that product.
Exactly, and following when Alex Perry, when he gave her on the show the feedback on how he thought that she looked like overstuffed baggage, she did admit that she hadn't been working out since the competition had commenced, and she'd actually gained some weight.
Fit and health is one thing though, but over the top though, like maybe there's such a point. I mean, the fashion industry, to them, what is healthy? I mean, is healthy the same as it is for the rest of 90% of Australian women? Are they saying that Australian women are typically unhealthy?
No, I don't think they're saying that at all, and I don't think that the girl even thinks she's fat, because she's definitely not. I think this whole saga has just been blown out of proportion, and the media has sort of twisted the truth. I'm sorry, but
yeah, and it's unfortunate that she's supported this lie, that she's actually gone to the media and she's used publicity for her modelling career, for whatever it is. She's actually done it. And was this comment even made by Alex Perry to actually get more publicity for the show? That's the other thing. Does he say controversial things just to promote it?
well, it's a good point, because conflicts gets viewers.
Australia's Got Talent. I mean, I bet a lot more people have started watching the show. I haven't started watching the show until we made the comment.
I'm actually surprised you even watched
Publicity
it.
is good publicity, so...
I was forced to watch it. That's my excuse.
Well, that's the same as me. I watched it for the first time last night so I could get some perspective on this.
All in the name of research.
Yeah. So it's worked, whether or not he meant it or not for it to be controversial. He's succeeded.
I think a lot of boys would actually like to take your stance and just say, "Oh, in the name of research, I'll go to a Victoria's Secret show and see some models."
And I'd just like to say here, for the record, that I think they generally move quite well and gracefully. I don't know about her, but maybe she can work on that too. But I think that's all we really have time for. I just want to thank you very much for coming on the show today.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks for having us.
Yeah.
You're welcome. And that's it from our team at Boost News. Don't forget to find us on Facebook and tell us what you think. And be sure to catch us again, same time next week. Cheers. Good stuff.